Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
Energy healing is so big right now. People are finally, after centuries, finally realizing it in a large amount of what it can do to make you feel better, just really move your life forward in a very positive way. Part of that is Reiki, and she is a Reiki pro and the owner of Red Boots Reiki. Annie Baker Atwood joins us. Annie, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well. Thank you for such a fun introduction. And one of the things to really remember is energy is supposed to be fun. And the more you enjoy it, the more you will expand into it. If you think about just the sheer joy of little guys, little cuties running around giggling. And sometimes that energy feels too much, but that's where we want to expand into so that we all just feel like giggling a lot and having fun with it.
Who doesn't want to feel that way?
I haven't met anybody.
Right?
Wait, maybe Eeyore. Eeyore was not into Reiki.
Yeah, and it's such a shame too.
I know. It would have made him a little more cheerful.
Yeah. Womp womp. I want to share with you, before we met, I had my first ever Reiki session about 2 months ago, give or take, maybe a little bit more. Maybe it was more like 9 weeks, somewhere in that territory. It was virtual. I did not even speak to the person who did it. We set it up verbally beforehand, but it was like, all right, tonight at 8 o'clock, be in a comfortable spot. And, I'll text you if I need you, just sit there and just relax. And I'm like, I believe in it, but there's always a part of me that's a little skeptical like anybody else. And I have to tell you that I felt something from the top of my head to my feet and back up again. And then I was thinking, man, maybe it's me, just thinking that something's going on. The game changer was the texts I got after the session. And she said things to me that no one else would ever know.
Yeah.
And quick example, she said, I had you, when I was doing the Reiki session, take me through some reeds and weeds and by, the body of water. And we were looking at little crabs and things like that. I don't know why, but that's what I was getting. But I like to kayak.
Yeah.
And that's where I go. And there's not on Facebook. No one would ever know it, but she pulled that out. And that was my validation immediately. This stuff is real and can be done virtually. And then shortly thereafter, then I realized that, I feel a sense of calm. I feel just better. I can't explain it, but better. And it's lasted all that, we're talking weeks later, probably due for another session, but it's real. That's how I know it's real.
It is. And I kind of liken the feeling after to going on a road trip with a full tank of gas. You just feel bolder. You feel, wow, I can handle anything.
Yep.
Yeah.
Like you had a full night of sleep and you wake up and you're ready to start the day, but that's every day.
Yes. My son says it feels like a bed hug right before you go to sleep, which I just thought he was 14 at the time when he said it, but it sounded just so
comforting.
And most of my clients actually do fall asleep when they're in person. And I always feel a little, oh, I'm so sorry. Can you wake up and roll over so I can get your back? And they kind of, So
yeah,
I've been told, I kind of forgot you were there. Like, that's a good thing. That is the perfect example of who I am as a Reiki practitioner. This is about the client. It has nothing to do with me. I tell people when they say, what is Reiki? I say, I am the little cord to the charger. I'm not the charger. I'm just the cord to just boost your energy.
Well, you're the connector to the energy. And we all need a recharge from time to time.
And we don't come with little battery, the little batteries that say you're at 51%, and everybody goes, whoa. But on the inside of you, you have so many of those little batteries zooming around you, and energy is always meant to be in motion. And so when they're zooming around and they run out of gas or whatever it is, they stop.
For sure.
And if you think about the Long Island Expressway, the LIE, if somebody just stops in the right-hand lane, things slow way down. They slow way, way down. I spent a lot of time at Islip, and so driving from New Haven to Islip, we tried to avoid the LIE as much as we could.
Oh, wow. And by the way, just for if you're listening or watching around the country, I'm on Long Island where we have that expressway in a town called Islip where there's an airport. You're from Connecticut, you live in Maine now, just moved there, as I just found out. But you could be anywhere. But I totally gotcha, in terms of that feeling stuck. And so many of us have that stuck feeling and don't know how to fix it.
Yeah. And also sometimes you've had that kind of slowdown for so long that it feels normal. And so when you only drive on the LIE or 95 or any of these big highways during rush hour, that feels normal because that is your experience. And then it's a surprise if you go at a different time and nobody else is on the road, you say, oh, this is what this feels like. And so I get a lot of that reaction from Reiki clients. They say, oh, this is what the flow feels like. I feel better. I feel more awake, more centered, more calm. And some just say, dude, this works. They don't even want to try to describe the feeling. They just want to enjoy it. And I had to count recently how many clients I had for some gratitude, because I am so incredibly pleased to be able to share this with clients, because my experience with Reiki is that is utter nonsense, absolutely ridiculous, and could never work. So I completely understand the skepticism of what is this and why should I try it? And then typically they're like, it's Annie. She's not going to do any harm. She's pretty normal looking, and, she's kind of known her a long time. And so they'll come for a session and they don't have any doubts after that.
Well, the interesting thing is you don't have to reveal anything to the Reiki practitioner. Like if you go to therapy, and there's nothing wrong with that, right? Or counseling, whatever it might be, you're telling your life story, you're opening up, and that's all good too. But when it comes to Reiki, just sit there and do nothing and let that person go through your energy. You don't physically even have to touch them. And again, my situation, and you can do it virtually anywhere in the country. And it almost is like, for anybody that wonders about energy, when I say to somebody, let's say that isn't feeling well, or, maybe a member of their family, and you're on Facebook, Instagram, whatever, and you're like, hey, sending positive vibes, you're essentially sending positive energy their way.
Yes. Right? And I just am a little more targeted with how I can send. Living in New Haven during the pandemic, I did a lot of COVID recovery. And so clearly I'm not going to be, in the same space. But again, I was able to really do some scanning and understand where the progress was being made. So for example, in the very beginning, and I don't know if this is still true, but in the very beginning, they were experimenting with some pretty serious cocktails of a variety of drugs.
Yes.
To
with COVID
clear stuff up. And about about 2 weeks, 3 weeks later, those drugs have integrated and they need to exit your body. And so they've kind of gone through everything. And I kept getting, tell this client that they need to eat roughly vegetables. And I'm like, okay, it has to be cauliflower. I'm like, don't know if he likes cauliflower, but it was because the roughly vegetables collect and scoop up all the residue
Wow.
and help exit it from your body, which is really cool. But it's to that degree that I'm able to tune in to anybody.
So I just want to clarify for anybody, that was from a Reiki session, and that's what you were getting from the session.
Mhm.
It's almost it's almost like you're intuitive that, this came into your head, like, yeah, you need to eat these certain types of vegetables. And it turned out to be true.
Well, and I get these, intuitive downloads, and I don't always understand
Mm-hmm.
why. And I'm kind of like the little nerdy researcher. I'm like, I wonder why that is. And so I'll try to figure it out. Another example was in so many of the COVID recovery, the right lung was needing more energy. And now I know the right lung has an extra lobe in it than the left lung. So I didn't know that. And I just knew that that area needed a longer energy drink, as I call it. And in the research, I said, oh, yeah, that makes sense. Yep,
Wow.
it always makes sense. I don't always understand it initially. I'd love to talk a moment about how a session looks, because it can sound a little overwhelming about, oh, she waggles her fingers and doesn't really do anything.
Please do, because mine was virtual. So, and I think a
Yeah.
lot of us think it's this magical, mystical kind of
I
foo-foo
still
stuff.
think it's a magical mystical machine for,
Well,
and I do this every day.
yeah. But yeah, take us through it. Like, let's say, somebody's on the table up, or that person right there that you're holding.
Yes. So I lay them down. This is going to be interesting with this virtual background.
Sam the skeleton, actually.
Yep. This is, my little, when I'm working with somebody who has a specific medical, I use my little person so I can show what holds to do to self Reiki yourself afterwards.
Which is something I want to get into later. I've never talked about self Reiki. And I know that if you're a Reiki practitioner, a lot of them practice Reiki on themselves, but I didn't know that we could do it to ourselves.
Yes.
And I only just learned maybe a few weeks ago that you could Reiki anything. You could Reiki a pen, a piece of paper with positive energy. But sorry to interrupt.
My food every time I eat.
And food. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, let's start at the base point.
So we have, you come and you lie down on my table, which is covered in flannel, and it has an organic pillowcase, and it kind of smells like balsam or, lavender, depending on which little pillow the cat brought over there. And the first thing I do is I'm going to open your energy centers, which are also called your chakras. And I do that similar to flipping your circuit breaker in your house. So if you went into a house and the circuit breakers were off, you kind of flip each and every one to get them back online.
Yep.
And so I do that by waggling my hands all around. And I start right on your shoulders. And I just hover my hands, and you'll feel warmth. That's what you'll feel. I'll feel this cycle of circular energy, is the best way I can describe it. And it's kind of like the koi fish coming up to, get their food. And then when they're all done, they just dive right back down. And that's when I know all of the energy cells in this area, in this rest stop, have a full tank.
Wow.
And then I move to the next rest stop to see who can get filled up there. And during this time, typically people are pretty chatty. They want to tell me about their day, and we just hang out. Oops, lost his little head there. And I move down.
And you're not even touching them, by the way. Let's
No,
be clear.
I'm not.
Just kind of hovering above them.
Yeah, my hands are hovering above them. And one of my clients told me that it is absolutely the best thing if you're recovering from a frozen shoulder, if you've had surgery of any type, because the process of taking your shirt or a sweater on and off, if your shoulder isn't working well, hurts.
Yeah.
So in Reiki, you just wear whatever you're wearing, even if it's, boots and your coveralls from felling trees, doesn't matter. So after I get to the knees, I work on the head space. And so this is going to really activate and kind of clear out any unnecessary thoughts in your head.
Which chakra would that be?
That is your third eye chakra. So the head position, you're working on your third eye chakra, which is I use knowledge. You're working on your throat chakra, which is I speak kindly to myself and others. And you're working on your crown chakra, which is I let light shine through me. And this is when people fall asleep, because and it's interesting, I can see in the stomach, the breathing changes and they go right to sleep. I will also work on arms, your elbows, your wrists. So many of us spent a lot of time in front of our computers. And so how our hands are really need a little extra energy.
See, I have to tell you, Annie, I always forget about that. Like in terms of my thinking, what Reiki does, it's just it's mental. It makes you feel better. I don't think about those situations where, if you have a bad knee or bad wrist, it's going to fix that. Not fix, I'm sorry, make it feel better.
Yeah. Yeah, it really does. And one of the things that I do a little differently is, although I'm not touching you, if you're interested, I'll put on some really beautiful hot rocks that I imported from northern France. My daughter was sailing there one time. I'm like, oh, these rocks, they really speak to me. And so I lugged them home.
Wow.
And they hold the heat. And so, you can just, have a little bit of a heated space on there. My sister loves that part. So after I wake you up, you get to roll over and I work on your back. And one of the things that's super important to do is kind of in the center of your back is your adrenal glands. And your adrenal glands are what stores stress. And if those get clogged, it is not good. So if it's a sudden sickness, when I clear it, it feels oily. It's just, that's how it feels. If it's a chronic condition, it'll feel more like dryer lint. And so I can tell what I'm working with, because a sudden injury is a different kind of, there's more trauma to the body than more of a chronic, I haven't been sleeping, I haven't been able to relax, that tired and wired feeling that you read a lot about at 4 a.m. on Facebook, because that's where everybody goes.
Right.
Like,
Yeah,
oh,
totally.
you need some Reiki.
That was me at 1:30 this morning. I woke up, I'm like, all right, let me pick up my phone. Eventually went back to sleep. Doesn't happen often, but you're right. What did you grab? Your phone.
Yeah. And then I finish with knees and your feet, and I seal up your energy, kind of let you come back into your conscious self. Not that you're unconscious, but you're just so deeply relaxed. And then usually we chat for a little while. I'm very easygoing. I'm not, watching the clock
Hmm.
because my hands just tell me where we need to go. Can I touch on going back to sleep for 1 minute?
Sure.
Ian?
Yeah, yeah, please. Absolutely.
So on my YouTube channel, I'm doing a whole series of Reiki to the rescue just
Oh,
for
I like
fun.
that. That's
Little
great.
little 2-minute videos. Check them out. But if you wake up and you want to go back to sleep, the first thing you do is you take your hands. Let me back up for a sec. You can always Reiki yourself because you are inside your aura. Your aura is your energy skin. So inside your aura, you can do whatever it is that feels right. So you take your fingers and you line them up just on your collarbone, and you just put your hands there until they start to feel warm.
Hmm.
And what this does is it gets you out of your head, because normally if you wake up in the middle of the night, it's because you're in your head. So you scan, you say to your thoughts, you have the right to exist, but not here, not now.
Huh.
And you can tuck them in your Kleenex box, you can shut them in a drawer. It doesn't have to be a real box, it can just be imaginary. And then you put your hands here and you just leave them there until they feel warm.
Wow.
Next, yeah. And sometimes it takes 10 seconds, sometimes it takes more, like a minute, but you'll know because you'll be warm.
And are you are you reaching for any specific area? Like somebody told me that you're supposed to find the open spot somewhere within your collarbone and and I don't know if this was the same thing, but as long as you're just there, you're okay.
Yeah, as long as you're there,
Okay. Hmm.
it's just a way of getting out of your head and
Yep.
into your heart.
Sure.
After those warm up, it's one hand above your belly button, one hand below your belly button. Again, wait until those warm up, and then right on your hip bones. And often I'm back asleep around the belly button. I don't even get to the hip bones.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah, and you'll feel that bed hug, that just where your bed just envelops you and you relax in to your bed and you just drift off.
I never thought I would say this, but I can't wait for the next time I can't sleep.
I
'Cause I'm gonna
know.
try it. And that is self Reiki that
Yeah. Yep.
wow.
And
Okay.
with all of my sessions, I always end with what you can do. Because someone said, well, if you can self Reiki, why wouldn't you just do that all the time? And I said, well, we brush our teeth every day, but we still go to the dentist. So you can Reiki yourself and get a little more deeper cleaning by coming to me or any other practitioner. And just, it's how you can reset yourself.
How did this all start for you, Annie? Where did this
As
all
I thought, I would go to networking parties. And if you are in your 50s, most men have some kind of injury, either a fresh injury or a prior injury. And I would smile and I'd say, I have healing hands. May I touch you? And it works like a charm.
well, what guy's gonna say no?
Exactly. But this is before I knew anything about Reiki, with my hands on them, I could read how they would be as a friend or
So
a
wait a
partner.
minute. Got to find out. This is before you were trained in Reiki. You just had some
Yeah.
kind of ability, an intuitive ability to just plug into somebody some way.
Yeah.
Wow.
So after, several times, they're like, oh my gosh, your hands are so warm. My ankle feels so much better, or my wrist or my elbow. A lot of tennis players. I thought, well, I really should find out what this is. Maybe there is really something to this. And this word Reiki kept coming up. And I thought, well, that's ridiculous. How could you possibly heal without touching?
Mm.
And I'm the kind of person that when I think that something is absolutely ridiculous, I go and I research it. So I signed up for my first class And it was a 2-day class in New Hampshire, and I drove up, and I'm thinking, all right, if nothing else, I'll see some beautiful leaves. It was in September. I got there and I walked in, and I was surrounded by people who spoke a language that I was fluent in that I didn't know existed.
How do you
And
mean?
everybody spoke energy, and I didn't know that it was a language.
Verbally, or you were just picking up on
Just picking up on everybody knew how to communicate with each other. It was kind of like speaking with the dolphins. And so I went through that weekend. I thought, wow, this is it. I really want to do this. And so the following weekend was level 2. So after level 1, I said, do I need to practice before coming to level 2? She said, no, I'll make room for you. I went, okay. So after level 2, I went and I bought a table and decided, I'm really good at this. I'm going to make this happen. And I went to a party, a networking party, and there was this hippie guy there, and he said, why don't you start a business? And I said, I don't know how to start a business. And he said, you can start a business. I said, well, don't I have to make money? He said, no. And I went, ooh. So he hooked me up with an organization through Yukon, and they walked me through, and by the following Monday, I was incorporated. And
Wow.
he said, what are you going to call your business? And I said, I looked down. I have to show you my boots. Looked down at my boots. I said, Red Boots Reiki.
That was going to be one of my questions, because it's a unique name.
Mhm.
And you happen to have those boots on at that moment.
Yep. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And so it's very easy to text, RBR ? And that's really the level of clients that I have. I know them. So I would say, sure, Tuesday or Wednesday. And my original business model was I went to their house, and I was their last appointment of the day. We would share some space, and I'd pack up my table, which fits perfectly in my car. And then I would, go on home, and they would just kind of enjoy being relaxed without having to, shower oil off or get back dressed or any of that. They could just really relax. At my studio here, they kind of pull up on the lawn, walk in, and I do have to wake them up
That's
to go on
amazing.
out.
I
But
love the fact that I just have to share with you that your energy is so good to start out with. It is. It's almost infectious. Give me some of that.
Send in your bay.
Bring it on. By the way, with Reiki, we're out of time. You have to want it. You have to accept it.
Yes.
So just to be clear for everybody, you can't like put a whammy on somebody, or, you
Nope,
have to be
nope,
accepting.
nope. And people who contact me are automatically agreeing to
Yes.
it. But I always do ask, do I have permission to energize you?
Yep.
And I haven't gotten a no yet.
But the fact that you had this intuitive energy feel, like you were already plugged in, no pun intended, to it, and then said, let me look at Reiki, because a lot of people will just want to be a practitioner and take the classes and go down that road. You kind of reverse engineered it. You already felt it. You had something, and you wanted to put it to use, I guess.
Yes, because people kept saying, I feel better.
Yeah.
I feel better. And at the school, teachers would walk in and say, I just need a little bit of Annie time.
Wow.
And then I'd tune them up really quickly, and they would go along with their day.
Before you learned Reiki, did you really know that it was making a difference? Like, would you walk away from somebody and go, yeah?
No, interestingly, a lot of times I would take their energy on to try to heal it inside my aura.
Okay.
And, I end up with a lot of other people's luggage that way. And so it was through Reiki that I understood, no, I am just the power cord. I'm not the source of power. I'm not a battery.
Would you say you're an empath?
Oh, absolutely. 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's a good thing and a bad thing. It can be a bad thing if you're not tuned into it and how to tune out of it. I've got a friend who is a nurse, and she's definitely an empath. She'll never admit it. There's no doubt. And she takes it all on, so much to the fact that she's wiped out after, like, she'll do 2 days on, 1 day off. The 1 day off, she's like laying in bed. She's like barely getting out of bed because she just takes on everybody else's energy, challenges, situations, problems, whatever it might, because she wants to make them feel better.
Yeah. And that is definitely something that I am very conscious of. And if I start to, get that spidey sense, I'll think, is somebody trying to attach their energy to me? And am I allowing that in any way, shape, or form?
Yeah.
And then once I recognize it, I can say, okay, no, thank you. You can always say no, thank you to somebody else's energy.
Don't they call those energy vampires?
Yeah. They're like little squids, that
just like
stick onto you.
Hang on. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm really good at clearing those too. I have a very special technique to do.
You're amazing in terms of and I've talked to a lot of people that do Reiki. There's, there's something.
I up-leveled it.
You did. You really did. And learned a lot today, through the process. redbootsreiki.com. And any fascinating talking with you. Looking forward to talking again soon.
Yes.
We're out of time between us. We're way over time, but whatever. I'm not worried about it. Yeah. Sorry, you get in trouble, whatever. I'll blame it on her, and it was her energy sucked me in like a vortex, and I just couldn't. Yeah, couldn't handle it.
Meet again next week.
Yeah, but for anybody wondering about Reiki, just reach out. I'm sure you're there. You'll answer questions.
I answer questions, and I had a gentleman stop in today, and he said, "I just want you to know, Missy, that I'm really skeptical." And I said, yes, that's a good thing. I said, you're skeptical and you're still wanting to try it.
Yep.
And so I work with everybody on where they are.
The best thing is be skeptical, but be curious. So and the same thing for me until I realize what it does. And, since then I feel great, but, touch up coming soon, I'm sure.
Yes.
Annie,
I'll send.
love talking with you, and we'll catch up next week.
All right, great.
All right. redbootsreiki.com. Bye. We'll catch you later.
Reiki.com.
Are you looking for even more of the podcasts and hosts that you love? The Podcast Business News Network is proud to announce that you now have even more ways to listen live. Check out the MyTuner Radio, online radio box, and Simple Radio apps on iOS and Android, or find us online. Search for Business News Network on mytuner-radio.com, or search Podcast Business News Network on streama.com and onlineradiobox.com/US. Take your podcast on the go and don't miss a minute of the action.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers.
Day-to-day simple tasks can become pretty daunting.
I have to carry my chair up 2 flights of steps or have somebody do it for me.
What scares me the most is just the falling.
When I'm struggling with my house, I think, to have that one great barrier just knocked down, it's crucial.
Home for Our Troops is a wonderful nonprofit that builds a
mortgage-free, fully adaptive, handicap-accessible house. And there's no catch.
It'll be our very first home that we've ever owned.
This is a game changer.
This is where your life begins again.
We need you to join us in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
Because of you, everything's going to be okay.